Hello, welcome everybody to episode number 43 of Into the Fire, coming to you live from the great city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's good to be here. I always look forward to the Friday nights where I can join my faithful following and all the gang, and tonight's going to be a really good show. Last week, we had Scott Michaels. What a show that was. Talk about the expert of the Manson murders. And I could have talked to him for another few hours, honestly. But we were lucky enough to have him on for almost an hour and a half. That was awesome. I encourage everybody to check out some of the other past episodes that exist. You can catch some of those on my YouTube page, Detective Jason White. Go there, subscribe, like, comment if you want. I try to answer all of the comments. And so far, so good. I haven't been slammed yet. I usually get that on other people's sites when I do a podcast somewhere else. There'll be some naysayer, some person that just hates the cops, but not in this house and not on this show, because all of my people are faithful listeners, and they like the show. So tonight's going to be a really interesting episode. We're going to talk about flock cameras, and this is something that has. I'll tell you right now, this is the biggest invention or the biggest help in the criminal justice world in my almost 27 years on the police department. This thing is solving cases that literally we were not solving a couple of years ago. And it solved two of my murders in 2024. And I'm incredibly excited about just at least sharing this type of technology with the people that are going to be tuning in. So maybe Kristen can alleviate any concerns and she can talk a little bit more, because people just inherently do not like change, and the advances in this world kind of scares people a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So first of all, I want to start off with I'm going to talk about a little bio about Kristen MacLeod. And Kristen is a community engagement manager with Flock Safety, a public safety technology company with 20 years of combined experience in criminal justice and law enforcement. She is passionate about helping create safer communities for everyone. Kristen has worked with countless cities, counties, and local law enforcement agencies nationwide to help bring ethical public safety technology programs to communities. When she's not working, you will find Kristen spending time with her family. That translates to driving her daughter to activities and white-knuckling it through the tween phase. And then Kristen's husband is a patrol deputy, which means public safety is a family affair. And lobbying for the ideal shift pick is a never-ending battle. They all love spoiling their two adorable rescue pups. And Amanda, go ahead and show us this brief video about the Flock safety system to start us off.
Welcome to Flock OS, Flock Safety's integrated situational awareness platform. Flock OS offers direct and seamless integration of all Flock devices in one simple-to-use map view, in addition to alerts directly within the platform. Flock OS can quickly gather data from Ravens to pinpoint the exact location of gunshots. In this instance, Falcon LPR cameras were able to connect a vehicle plate to the location of the gunshot that alerted directly within the map view. With Flock OS, we can go beyond just the Flock devices to bring in live video by incorporating existing agency traffic, Department of Transportation, and police cameras. In this case, from a helicopter that was able to track the suspect vehicle, in addition to AVL from patrol vehicles, while using real-time routing to predict a vehicle's direction. The officers knew they could wait for the suspect vehicle to reach a less populated area to perform the apprehension. Flock OS centralizes all of your evidence across the entire jurisdiction into a single, easy-to-use cloud-based map. You can layer on top customer maps like your precincts, floor plans of key buildings, and traffic. We also launch community engagement programs to get neighborhoods and businesses alike to register and integrate their cameras. Flock OS offers a number of AI-related features, such as real-time routing. With real-time routing, you can use both video streams and historical data to properly predict where a vehicle is heading. This can be displayed at both the RTIC and on our Patrol's MD team. For increased mobility, FlockOS now integrates a mobile app that enables customers to receive real-time alerts and perform license plate lookup while on the move. Available for both iOS and Android. At Flock, we are 100% focused on building technology that helps you solve more crime. Flock Safety. Let's shape a safer future together.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Kristen MacLeod to the show.
Hello.
Hi, Kristen.
Hey.
It's so good to have you here. We had the opportunity to meet one another in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, at a city council meeting, and you were talking about the system it was a full house, actually. I would say there's probably at least 100 plus people there. And it was great to meet you. I was so impressed with you then. I immediately thought after I'd left from there, I was like, I got to have her on. So thank you for being here all the way from Boise, Idaho. That's where she's coming to us from. I love it. I was just there. So good. What is it that you tell us about a little bit about your criminal justice? By the way, everybody, this is her first time to be on a podcast, but she's not nervous at all. So
no,
tell us a little
not
bit.
At all.
Tell us a little bit about your start in the world of criminal justice.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I come from a law enforcement family. Dad, uncle, aunt was a dispatcher for some time, and had always had an interest in community safety. And I started my career way back when at a juvenile hall in California, where I was a corrections officer, and really started to learn about how kids entered into the system. And I wanted to do something to upend that. And my journey took me to becoming a probation officer. I was a probation officer in California for many years. I worked a variety of different assignments, from writing pre-sentence investigation reports. So taking police reports, compiling those, looking at a person's criminal history, giving sentencing recommendations to courts. In that, I learned a ton about the justice system and how that worked, and did some field work. A lot of juvenile work, which I am probably crazy for loving it. But I got to really work in communities, work with families, schools. Again, was really given a opportunity to see the system and communities with a very holistic view. And that, again, really fueled my passion to get into what are the things that make communities safer and what can I do to be a part of that. After my probation career, I actually took a position that brought me from California to Idaho. I worked for the Ada County Sheriff's Office for a handful of years and managed a criminal justice grant. And that really centered on bringing different justice stakeholders together to make improvements to the system. And I stayed on as their criminal justice and community engagement manager and helped manage their crime prevention program. And again, that just really, it's like, what more can I do? You know, the wheels of government turn slow. And I stumbled on this opening for community engagement manager with Flock Safety. And the description was a lot of what I was doing in my previous role. And I thought, wow, an opportunity to be able to impact community safety on a national level just really spoke to me. And that, fast forward to today, and I'm getting to work with law enforcement agencies across the country to help bring this ethical technology to their communities, educating communities on what the system does and doesn't do. And it's been so rewarding to see the impacts that this technology has had on communities nearly instantaneously. So in a nutshell, that's how I got here.
That's great. And so She actually is responsible for the Western United States. That's her territory that she actually is responsible in talking to the police departments and so forth. That's a tremendous responsibility. But that's got to be a lot of fun because that can find you going to various places throughout the country and networking and meeting with a lot of great people, not only the police, but in the community. So that's great. So from there, now I kind of showed the video about Flock. What is Flock in a very simple way of telling it, and what does it do?
Yes. So I'll start a little bit of background on the company. So we were founded in 2017 by our CEO, Garrett Langley. He was experiencing an uptick of crime in his neighborhood and property crimes. And he contacted his local law enforcement and I think brought them some personal doorbell footage and was like, we got him. Here you go. Run with this evidence. We can stop crime. And, they appreciated the effort but unfortunately said this just quite isn't enough. And an engineer by trade, Garrett got really curious and through conversations learned that the vast majority of crimes are committed in conjunction with use of a vehicle. And so a license plate number, a vehicle description, like being able to have that type of investigative lead could really help impact the situation. And he started looking into, license plate recognition. And that technology has actually been around since the 70s. So he created Flock with our flagship product, a license plate recognition camera, and started selling to HOAs. So communities that wanted to protect their neighborhood, and then expanded to offering the product to law enforcement. And since that time, with a lot of customer feedback, we've expanded into a larger product suite. We offer audio gunshot detection. We have live pan tilt zoom video. You saw our Flock OS kind of brings all of that technology together in one pane of glass. We have drones as first responders now. So some really, really cool technology, and all of that, he really built this with ethics in mind. Privacy is important to him. Privacy is important to the employees at Flock. And we know that it's important to communities. And so all of this is really built very thoughtfully and with that balance in mind.
Yeah, and these cameras are placed in places that are on public roadways, and they're
Exactly.
not capturing the people's faces in the car. They're just capturing the rear of the car, license plate. It will obviously it's going to capture if they have bumper stickers and things like that, which would be unusual markers or identifiers on a vehicle just because of the sheer photos that are taken. And this isn't held for indefinitely either. Tell us a little bit more about the storage and all of that goes with this.
Yes. So Flock's default data storage is 30 days. It's interesting, there's no national standard. We recommend 30 days because that provides law enforcement that investigative value. If a crime isn't reported right away, say, someone's home was broken into and they're on vacation, they don't come back for a couple weeks, it takes them some time to report it. It gives law enforcement the opportunity to go back historically and look for that investigative lead and that objective evidence. But it's also balancing privacy. So all of the images that are captured of just community members going about their daily business, passing by the cameras, unless it's retained as part of an investigation, all of those images are hard deleted and unrecoverable at that 30-day mark.
Yeah. You've been going out there across the country and you go to city council meetings, you go to community events, and I don't think that this is any different than anything else that we've experienced in the world of criminal justice. I mean, there was a time when people, just to kind of give people an idea as to the world of DNA, in DNA, in that world of DNA, honestly, the first criminal court case of that happened in the 80s, and it happened in England. And then from there, the citizens here in the United States started getting a real taste of it from the O.J. Simpson case, where they started talking about it and the complexities of it. And then people started going, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is a good thing. They're going to start cloning people and all this crazy stuff. And none of that has happened, by the way. I've never heard of one instance where we've recloned somebody. But then from there, that technology just continues to advance. And Flock already, just from the stuff we've got here, just from that video I watched, that's way beyond anything that we're doing here. And I'm sure that we're going to look at advancing it at some point, I hope. So what are you starting to, what is it that you hear about within the communities and that their concerns? Because like I said, we went to this community event together, and it was quite, I was a little surprised. I expected everybody to be actually standing ovation, like it's about time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so what's kind of some of the things that people are really most upset about, and how do you dispel that a little bit and make people a little bit more comfortable?
Yes, such a good question. So, and we understand there are going to be concerns. I mean, anytime, right, you hear, hey, there's, or you see this camera installed on a pole, facing the road. What is it for? What is the information being used for? Are they tracking me going to church? Or are they tracking me going to my place of business? And again, we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to communities about it and answer questions and share really how the system works and how it was built with privacy in mind. So privacy and data security are probably the top concerns from communities. And again, Flock was built with guardrails to help ensure privacy. And the first is that, and you mentioned it, these cameras are installed very thoughtfully. They're focused on public areas. And they are taking a point in time still image of the rear of a vehicle. There's no way to search for a person in the system. So you had mentioned those vehicle attributes. Our system is solely focused on vehicle attributes. Make, color. You mentioned roof rack, and you mentioned bumper stickers. And with the bumper stickers, it's not something so specific as a religious or political affiliation. It's just that the car has a bumper sticker to help narrow down a search if needed.
Great point, because that's a great point. I didn't even think about that, but I could already see people going, "Oh my gosh, they're going to be targeting this party," or I didn't even think about that. That's a great point.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, it's again, it provides an opportunity to share the information of what the system doesn't do. A short data retention, we believe that is important. And then something that we've seen really help ease concerns, and I think what's been really successful in many, many areas, is when law enforcement is very open and transparent about, hey, this is the program that we are looking to implement, explaining what the system does and doesn't do, and also sharing how their department policy is reinforcing those privacy guardrails and that ethical use of the system. The Flock system requires a search reason, and anytime an officer or staff is accessing the database and looking for information from our license plate recognition, they have to enter a search reason, and that's associated with a user ID, and that creates an audit trail. And so the administrators of the system are looking through to ensure that the system's being used appropriately. All of those actions are logged in the Flock system. And we also really encourage, I mentioned a little bit, but transparency. And Flock is unique in that we offer what we call a transparency portal. And it's really great. It's a Flock generated public facing web page that provides information on how local law enforcement is using the system. Oftentimes departments will link their policy there. They'll share, what prohibited uses of the system are. They'll share what acceptable uses of the system are. And so it really just gives the community insight into, okay, this is exactly what our department's using it for. And again, eases those concerns, and they can just see and understand it better.
Yeah, and I'll remind people too, we, the police, we can run your tag. We can run your driver's license. We can run your name. We've been doing it for decades. We're too busy to be messing around and doing stuff that we're not supposed to be doing. Will it ever happen? Of course, there are going to be some examples that have happened in the course of history.
Yeah.
Anytime you got human beings that are able to do stuff, that's always possible. But I like what you've done is you've put safeguards in place to at least, and they've had an issue, or they had an incident where they got rid of the guy, and then you could potentially be facing serious criminal charges. And so this is not something that they're playing around with. This is very serious stuff, and they want to make sure that it's used appropriately. And I think that that's fantastic, because that gives it a lot of, it just makes it, I can't, what's the word? It's just really, it's trustworthy. It's just a trustworthy system all the way around. And there's a lot of fail safes and so forth. So that's great. So what are the statistics as far as numbers that we can talk about, as far as how many states this thing is being used in currently, and how many crimes is this thing really solving across the country?
Yes. So, I want to say we are in nearly every state. I think there are a couple that we're not in, and we are helping solve 10% of reported crime nationwide. We really rely on our law enforcement customers to share some statistics with us and their success stories. And there's a channel within Flock where we get to hear when customer success managers, their law enforcement customers share with them, hey, we just had this success, we just had this story. And I mean, it's daily that we get to hear these things, and some really impactful cases. But just to share, Allentown PD reported that they had the fewest homicides since 1989. And Flock's LPR cameras and our gunshot detection helped play a role in over 350 investigations. Tulsa PD achieved 100% clearance rate, and technology helped with that. And there are just stories from all over that cite these incredible statistics. And then something, we talk about the impact on crime a lot, but something that has had kind of we've had an unforeseen impact is on missing persons. And a very conservative number, from, I believe it was May of last year, we had helped locate over 400 missing persons nationwide. And again, that's I think a very conservative number, but hearing the stories of Amber Alerts and Silver Alerts and how LPR is able to provide you all, first responders, that information that is like finding a needle in a haystack when time is critical, is just, that's why I go to work every day, right? Like it's so impactful, and it's helping, victims find peace of mind that suspects are being apprehended really quickly. And it's just, it's really hard to capture the impact that we're having and to give words to it. But those are a couple stories that I'm happy to share.
Yeah, and one of the people that just kind of stands out to me when I was sitting there listening to the people, it wasn't all negative. I mean, there was a lot of people that actually appreciated the fact that this is going on, but one of the stories was a lady that she was a little upset at the fact that there was one of these cameras that was near the elementary school, and she was like, "Well, I just want to know if there was some sort of an uptick in child abductions, and I've got a real problem with this." And I'm thinking, "Are you kidding me? If there was one, you just said it yourself, that immediate to where we could get on it right away. We're not talking about days later where we're waiting for this data that we have to wait on a lot of times from a lot of these different companies, like phone companies, et cetera. We're talking about right away. And the case that I think about with that, I think about that little girl that was abducted from Ted Bundy in Florida, and all they would have needed at that point is a Volkswagen in that area. If somebody had seen this car or whatever, my gosh, they could have had him stopped and gotten that little girl, possibly, if this technology had existed back then. And so, I mean, I of course, do we have it happen all the time? No, but I like I said before, I've got two. I know that Flock played a part in 3 of my cases in 2014.
Wow.
Listen to me, 2024. In 2024, it played a part in 3 of my homicides, and 2 of them. I'm here to tell you right now, if it wasn't for it, those cases would probably still be open. I just don't know that we could have solved them based on that, because what this allows us to do in those particular cases, and we'll show some stuff later, but if we have a chance, but what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to get on stuff right away and start looking to try to build a case or prove that they were there or prove that they weren't there. And so this also plays a role of exculpatory.
Yep.
Meaning, so explain that. Have you had a lot of examples of that sent your way as well?
We have heard of them. Just a couple from personally, can't speak for the rest of the Flock team, but again, those examples of that objective evidence that is so critical to being able to get to the bottom of things and in the right way, is just, again, huge. It's a game changer.
No, what it really is. And if you think about it, I've had a couple of cases over the years, and I've been doing this for, coming up on, I can't remember now. I think it's 16 or 17 years. I don't really remember, but I know I've been doing this for a long time. And in those instances, I think it's coming up on 16 years. And in that, I can think of one guy that I was like, man, I just know that this is my guy. And fortunately, he came up on video. And if you're going to end up, and this is one of those tools that it's like, hey man, I couldn't have done it. I was over here. I was driving here. I was out at, and then all we have to do is look that up.
Yep.
And then we use, and by the way, this isn't a system that we just go out and arrest somebody because their license plate hit in an area. That's not the way this works. Right. It's an investigative lead. That's what it is. It's just a lead. We have to have other things on top of that. And that's how that works. So this thing about the gunfire, that's something we do not have here in Tulsa currently. Tell me a little bit about how that works. And I want to hear a little bit more about the drone stuff, because that's interesting. I didn't know you had that capability.
Yes. So the gunshot detection, that is, again, placed in an area. And our team, what happens is when a department is looking to purchase our product, we have former law enforcement that are solutions consultants that will work with the local law enforcement agency to come up with a deployment plan to place the technology, looking at crime patterns, traffic patterns, the layout of the city, to really strategically place the different technology and the hardware and the tools. So the gunshot detection will, if our machine learning hears a sign of trouble, i.e. gunshots, it will send an alert and a 5-second clip of that audio. So it's not recorded, it's not constantly recording, it doesn't pick up voices, it is trained to detect the sound of a gunshot and then send that alert nearly instantly to law enforcement, so that you all can respond and again, arrive on scene to verify what's going on, but also the opportunity to collect that critical evidence, those shell casings that are left behind, right? So being able to respond quickly, oftentimes that alert comes in well before, say, someone in the area even calls 911 to report those gunshots. So again, giving that timely advantage.
Yeah, that's huge. It really is big. And what's the cost of these? What's the cost of that, if you can even say?
Oh goodness. So that really depends kind of on.
Or let me stop you. Is this something that you have to have multiple devices to be able to do this?
So there's a certain radius that it will cover. So it really just depends kind of what the goal is and what the needs of the different city are. And again, we have solutions consultants and our sales folks that can work with departments to um, take into consideration the resources that you all have, and what the needs are, and make a plan to best cover and get you what you need.
So not only do they do that, but they also help departments with working policies and preparing them for news media outlets that are, of course, they're going to have a lot of questions about this. There's going to be a lot of people in the public that are going to be scared of this, I guess, in a sense. I know. I'll tell you this much. I wish that it existed in my neighborhood on both of the entrances and exits, because that way I would feel a lot better going out of town. I mean, I would know that at least if my house gets broken into, uh, knock on wood, if that ever was to happen, at least I know that
Yeah.
they're going to have something to work with. And this is actually, there was a community I was reading something about, that it was in California, and you probably already know, you may know this, but somewhere in California, where their burglary rate dropped 80%, is one of the things that I had seen. Do you know what I'm
Uh,
talking about?
I'm thinking of one community there, and I've heard many, right, that have had a drop. 70% comes to mind. There was probably one that experienced an 80% drop. That's something else that we're really encouraging departments to do is, really keep track of your metrics. And so you can share the impact with your community. From the time of the camera install, from the time of the audio detection install, there may not be causation, but you can certainly show a correlation between when you got the technology up and running and what is happening in your community and how you're impacting public safety. So again, so you can share how this is making a good impact. And you mentioned, working with our media relations to really share it. It's such an important part. And again, being transparent. We really support trust building with departments in their communities. And so again, sharing that information and getting ahead of it and really educating the folks in your community, and part of that is sharing the successes and the impact. So um, we love when departments take the time to again meet with their community members, have a conversation about it, and share the impacts.
Yeah. Just to give people an idea, 10% of crime, 10% of crime across this country, and Flock has something to do with solving 10%. And this is in its infancy.
Yeah.
In another 5 years, my gosh, it's going to be crazy. So here's some of the statistics that I'd happen to find. 10% is basically 700,000 crimes that were solved in 1 year, in large part because of Flock, which is insane. That's awesome. In Marietta, Georgia, 34% reduction in crime. In Cobb County, Georgia, 62% reduction in crime. In San Marino, that was the city that I was thinking of. San Marino,
Okay.
California, 70% reduction in crime. Dayton, Ohio, 43% reduction in crime, and that was in 2020. And then Shelby County, Tennessee, a 20% reduction in type A crimes. And type A crimes are the real bad ones. That's like murders and rapes and stuff like that. So that's really something. I really, what do you know the states offhand that aren't using these cameras yet?
I believe Alaska. Actually, Alaska might be the only one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, and so the cost of these cameras, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, they're roughly $3,000 per camera, right? Is that
Yep.
kind of
Three
about
thousand
right?
dollars per camera per year. There's kind of first time install fees, but on recurring basis, yep, that's about it.
And what have you seen as far as the longevity of these cameras before they may need to be replaced? And I'm sure there's some incidents of
Yes.
vandalism, et cetera, but
Yep. So the cool thing about Flock is we operate as like a subscription type model. And so legacy vendors, oftentimes departments would purchase the hardware, and by the time it's up and running, they're using it. technology has outpaced the hardware and renders it not usable. So with Flock, very intentionally modeled it so that Flock owns the hardware. The cities, the department, they own that's another important part too that I failed to mention earlier, is that the cities own 100% of their data. So Flock will never sell or share that information with anyone. It is in full control of the law enforcement agency. And so going back, we maintain the hardware, and then we proactively monitor the camera's health. So if we see an issue, we'll diagnose that. We will take care of that. Instances of vandalism are surprisingly very rare. A handful of instances occur, and in those situations, that is on the responsibility of the city to pay for replacement, but it's not replacing a full camera. It's a fraction of that cost. But again, it's actually quite rare that the vandalism happens, which I don't know. It kind of surprised me, honestly, coming in. And yes, we are able to catch those folks that are responsible for the vandalism as well.
All right. And just out of curiosity, I think I remember this in one of the trainings. It's not just tags. Theoretically, they have people recognition too. Like, let's say there's somebody out on foot walking in a neighborhood. Does it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Does it capture them also? Like, let's say you have a burglar that was last seen running out of there, or a killer, or who knows, a rapist, and they're last seen running out of the neighborhood and they're wearing dark clothing. Do these things capture just motion, or how do these, like?
It's motion activated, but they're pointed at the road. So it's pretty rare that you would capture someone in one of the images. And again, they're really focused on the vehicles. And then there's also no way to filter for a person in the system. So there really isn't a focus on people.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm going to give a quick example of, and it's not the one that I've given you, Amanda. It's a different one, so you don't have to throw those up. But on one of them, we had a homicide, and I can remember the suspect vehicle was like a 1978 Datsun truck. I haven't even seen one of those in years. And so it had like a camper shell on it or something like that. And the field officers, who are really, I think they're more savvy at this system than I am. And these guys basically, they said, yeah, we've already ran this up on Flock. We've already seen the area that this vehicle is at, like a lot, or in that area, and in conjunction with tag readers on police cars, where there's a lot of these police cars are taking photos of tags all the time, and they're not just diving in there and just, hey, let's just look and see what tags are over here. No, it's because of the specific vehicle that we found on Flock. From that, we were able to literally check the area, and we were over there in 5 minutes, over in an area of Tulsa that it would have taken us, who knows if we would have ever found this thing, literally. It would have taken days, if not weeks, of searching through how many Datsun trucks still exist in Oklahoma, kind of a thing. So it's a big deal. And not only that, I can think of another instance where I knew that the killer drove a specific way, because we're able to tell by other things. And when I was able to tell that, we're confirming his story. When he's telling us, oh, this is where I went here, this is where I went there, we're able to tell that he's actually telling us the truth in some instances, because we're able to corroborate what he's telling us based off of Flock hits in certain areas. So it's really an amazing system. There was somebody in a Citizens Police Academy I was speaking out on Tuesday that was like, yeah, but it's not 100%. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, a Q might show up as an O. You have to look. That's where we have to really look. It's not 100%, but it's pretty good. So talk about, I'm sure that the technology is getting much better, right?
Yep. We really pride ourselves on accuracy. We do encourage in policy, right? This is why policy is so important. Just like you mentioned, making sure you're visually verifying the information prior to that enforcement action, like you said before, this is an investigative lead. It's a tool. It's one piece of the puzzle, a very helpful piece that really increases efficiency and gets you that objective evidence. But verify, verify. And then we also, with each image, we provide a confidence threshold. And so if we're unsure, maybe this is a Q or is it a 0, a caution triangle will show up next to the image. And so it's alerting that user, like, you really, really take caution with this image. There was something that the machine learning found was off. But again, we really pride ourselves on accuracy, and it's incredible how the technology is improving every day.
Yeah. What if somebody, I'm sure Flock is growing like crazy. I'm sure that they have a lot of opportunities for people if they were interested in maybe seeking a job with them, and I'm sure that they pay pretty well too. I would imagine. So they could go to the website and just check and see what opportunities exist out there for them. Maybe you don't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't.
Our careers page, check it out. I love working for Flock. When I took this leap almost 2 years ago, from my entire career has been working county government, and moving into the private sector, it sounded wonderful. In my experience through the hiring process was incredible. And I thought, okay, once I get in, right, the curtain's going to swing back and I'm going to find things. And I can't say it enough. I think Flock as a company, it is technology with a soul. And I wouldn't be able to work somewhere if my values didn't align with what the company was doing. And Flock continues to show that they're ethical and that they really have community safety at the heart of what we're doing every day. And I've not once regretted making that jump, because they're so dedicated to that mission, and really making impacts in communities. And I don't think we truly know the impact that we're having. We see these incredible stories, we hear of these incredible statistics and numbers, but I mean, just thinking about the lives that are impacted. I mean, if you really take a minute and think about what it means to people to have, I mean, you know this, Jason, like when you're talking to the family of a victim, it's beyond what words can say. So I'm super proud to work there, and encourage anyone to check out the career page, check out our webpage. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. And as a matter of fact, the other thing that I think about all the people that maybe they passed beyond their age to become a cop, but they always wanted to do it. Well, this is kind of your chance to get into that investigative world in the civilian sector. And no better place to go than a place that it actually sells itself. This is not one of those things that you got to twist somebody's arm at a company and show up and go, hey, let me tell you why you need to spend this kind of money. No. This thing it speaks for itself. It's crazy. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes, just real quick, Kristen, to mention something. Amanda, throw up that DNA picture just to let people know of the other advances in the world of criminal justice. DNA, for an example, if we had DNA at a scene and so forth, and remember, everybody is all freaked out about DNA because it's the advances. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I like the government having access to this, and this DNA thing scares me. The way the technology exists now, theoretically, if we had DNA at a scene, we could get, you have to send them a check to get this done. Believe me, it costs money. But we could get what that person looks like at 25 years old. And this is just one example of that. And from that, go to that next photo, Amanda. Then that opened up the world of forensic genealogy, which is another world that's actually new and it's out there. And from there, that has been responsible for solving things like the Golden State Killer and most recently, the Idaho Killer. Without those kind of advances, ladies and gentlemen, we would not have been able to solve those types of crimes. In addition to that, facial recognition, when you're talking about the different things that exist out there, there's facial recognition that exists out there, people, that if you go in and rob a bank and they get a good shot of you, and there's cameras everywhere on everybody, on all these doorbells and everything else. That's the don't F with cats guy. It didn't tell him who he was, but it told you all the social media outlets or all the different, if they've got Facebook, Instagram. This stuff is solving crimes, and that's just the technology, and that's the technology is advancing in many ways. This just happens to be technology that we as the police never had. And I'm telling you, man, I don't solve cases off DNA and fingerprints. I solve cases off this. This is what's solving cases for us. I've never seen anything like it. And I tell everybody that I run across that Flock is it, man. This has been a game. This has been the biggest game changer in our industry ever. I don't know of another one that's bigger than this. I really don't. If there's one out there, put it in the comments and let me know, because I don't know what it is. This thing is incredible. What's probably the most interesting story, if you can share? You don't have to get into specifics, of course, but what's probably one of the biggest cases that for a win on something like this that you have heard of?
Oh my gosh. There are so many. I would say, I think for me, the most impactful, and it's really cool. It was really cool to hear as a new employee coming into Flock. It was the first child abduction that Flock had helped solve. And it was a child it was a stranger on stranger abduction. And this child, I believe he was 1 at the time, was taken forcefully from mom. And the suspects had intended to take him and raise him as their own. It's really scary. They took off, and law enforcement was able to enter in that suspect vehicle description into the Flock system and create a hot list alert. They ended up, long story short, they ended up getting an alert that the vehicle had passed by a camera in another community. And so officers were able to respond and safely recover that child. And the child had actually, what the suspects had done was dressed him in girls' clothing to, in the event that they were pulled over, suspected of this child abduction. Well, it was a little boy that was reported as being taken, and just horrible, like as a parent, right? Your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was 5.5 hours from the time the Amber Alert was issued to the time that baby was returned to mom. So, I mean, that will always stick with me. And that it's so cool to hear folks share, hearing that the cameras have the ability to help this child go home safely.
Yeah.
And give first responders that critical information to find him. It's again, like that's why I come to work, right? It's really making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing. I really do. I think it's tremendous. To give the ladies and gentlemen just a little brief example, show up that picture of that the bottom half of that car, Amanda. So on one of my cases, and I'm not going to get into any specifics other than the very basics, but that's all we had, and this is literally from a surveillance camera in a neighborhood after a homicide. And then from there, we follow that car from the neighborhood. That's what we do. And then this is what we get, and what we get from there is we go to the next one. And I've covered this stuff to keep that, but that's what we're able to get. And from that, we're able to learn more details. And I'm glad you threw that up there too, because this is telling you what we can get from these things, from that technology. And to go back to that picture of that car, I don't want you to go, or like that car right there, that was able to lead me to who owned the car. Then I find out more stuff about that individual. Then we find him eventually. And then eventually he tells us what's up and then what happened. And we would have never solved that case before that. I'm confident of that. My colleagues are like, oh yeah, we would have got there eventually. And I'm like, yeah, right. I've been doing this a long time. I know better. Even if it's the word on the streets, having that timely information is paramount. and you could see how crazy that was. And that was because we were able to just search Ultimas that were that color, and then you start seeing identifiers, and then you're able to go from there, and then you're able to look even further, and then you find that you can put that person right there at the time when this is happening. And it just didn't happen that way before. And it kind of makes doing this job a little bit more fun, that we actually have a chance. And I can tell you, that in reference to that case specifically, I can remember sitting there and mentioning to one of the killers. I said to him, "Hey buddy, 2 years ago, you would have got away with this, but not anymore, because technology is on our side." Yes. And it gets them to thinking about it. It's just better. Just don't commit a crime and you don't have any problems, and it'll be fine.
Exactly. It's amazing. And it's, this, right? Word travels fast among circles of folks who are wanting to commit crimes in communities. And so when these go up, it makes it a lot riskier, right? So we see it as a deterrent as well.
No, it is. There's no doubt about it. It's absolutely a deterrent. It gets criminals to think twice that they don't want to get captured on a camera. Well, I mean, right now, I mean, I can think of many times I've walked up to somebody's door and I'm like, oh, we're on camera. We're always on camera. You just never know. It's all over the place. Any other final thoughts that you want to leave the viewers with? Those things that you want to dispel any problems with, anything that you want to just kind of let people know that if they have concerns about this system, maybe it will help them with that.
Yes. I think just, again, we're wholeheartedly focused on eliminating crime. We want communities to be safe. We know that we have to earn the trust of communities, and we hope that we're doing that. And we're in over 5,000 communities nationwide, and we work with over 3,000 law enforcement agencies. We do work with HOAs and neighborhoods. We work with commercial businesses. They're a bit different. They're not getting those alerts to wanted vehicles. They're not getting law enforcement sensitive information. But what they can do is neighborhood organizations and commercial businesses can share their cameras with law enforcement. It doesn't work the other way around, but that public-private partnership, it's such an incredible way for the community to work with their law enforcement, to provide and extend their resources and give back and support community safety. So just wanted to share that opportunity. And again, we're just so grounded in our mission. And you have over 1,000 employees at Flock who day in and day out get up to work to make this better, but also really value privacy and security. And I can't say it enough how proud I am to work for Flock and what we're doing to improve community safety nationwide. It's just been such a blessing and such an opportunity to do the work. So
I love it. Tell your husband thank you for letting us borrow you for the evening. You're doing an amazing. Go ahead.
I don't want to get him in trouble. He might be listening. He's out. He's working tonight. So he was going to try to find an opportunity to listen in a little bit. So, hey, honey, if you're out there.
Good. And tell him thank you for his service. That's awesome. And literally, everybody that's been tuning in tonight, there is no doubt that you're seeing why I had her on. She's definitely, you're a value to that company. And you're literally just, I love it. You're like a stick of dynamite for that company, and they picked the right person.
You.
So
thank you.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming on. I have if there's any agents, we have a lot of cops that listen to us throughout the country. So if you're an agency and you're actually considering this, don't hesitate. You can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with her, or we'll figure it out, but we'll put you in touch. And I know that they'll work with you, and I know that they've had instances where even if they didn't have Flock cameras, they were able to utilize another agency that did. And that's helped give them an idea that this does work and so forth. So I love it. Thank you, Kristen. You've been awesome. I loved it. And I hope we stay in touch and keep me posted on other things. And I'll make sure that we pass along the wins to you.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for episode number 43. It's such an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you so much. Remember, go to my YouTube page. Don't go to my Facebook page. They suspended it for absolutely no reason. Who knows what happened there? Go to my YouTube page, and you can find a lot of great stuff there. And I'll probably even throw up I'll put a video of Flock up there on there as well. So if you want to check that out on the playlist, like and subscribe. Let KGRA know that you love this content, and we'll bring some more your way. And remember, we're the #1 true crime show on KGRA. And let's keep it that way. We want to make it to where nobody else can be up on top of the hill like us. So thank you again, Kristen. Appreciate you, young lady. Stick around for a quick minute and take us out, Amanda.